Sweet surrender as I love, serve, and remember.
The water of life. I keep, because the topic title is the water of life, but in my head I keep saying water is life, so it's hard to separate because everything is water, right? We're human beings. What are we made up? 70 to 90% of water. I have a brother, and I'll just say his name so don't keep calling him my brother. His name is George, and he's very much in the water world. This is his life. He was the general manager of DC Water in Washington, D.C. for almost 10 years. And when people would ask him about, like, who does, and that's the utility in D.C., well, what jobs does your utility support? And his answer to them was always, all of them. There's nothing that isn't supported by water. Who are the people that DC Water supports? Everybody. That we all need. I'm sorry, there's this banging of. Jack, if you could come look at that, it's sort of, there's. Oh, thank you. That's okay. It's nice little rhythm. I almost started dancing, but I saved you all. So, so water is everything, is basically his answer, that we can't live without water, that every organism has water in it. What's, interesting is, in the Bible, water shows up in the second verse. First chapter, second verse, and Spirit moved upon the earth, moved upon the water. Spirit moved upon the water. It's in the third verse, light comes. So water is even previous to light. Water is life-giving. Life is like the womb of creation is water. People who've given water births where they birth their baby into water. So it comes from the water of the womb into the water in the world. So you feel this wonderful caress and caring and taking care of. It's life-giving in everything. We all need water. There are communities who don't have water, and someone was sharing a story of, I can't remember which country it was in, but they travel miles every single day to get water. They don't go, I don't feel like it today. Because you can't. We need water to survive. So you will do whatever it takes to get water. And so that's how we see, one of the things my brother was pointing to is that when they look at life on other planets, the first thing they look for, do they have water? There's not life on other planets if they don't have water, because that's how organisms formulate. So it's essential. Water is essential to who we are, to be aware of it. I was even thinking, for those of you who don't know, we're online, we're part of on a sort of a campus of St. Parts Episcopal Church. We rent this building from them. So they had sewage problems, and first they got the plumbers in, and that didn't fix it. So they've had to spend a huge amount of money changing all the piping. You can't have a business, you can't have a church without water, without the sewage system to get water for people who are coming to drink. Everything runs by water. So we have to really be clear and see the value of water. And one of the things we were talking about last week was nature and how we feel spirit in nature. So many people that I talk to, I'd say 90% of the people I talk to, when they feel God the most deeply, other than in prayer and meditation, is when we're in nature. Because there's no human intermediary. It's like this pure vehicle of spirit. And if there's a pure vehicle of spirit in all of nature, water is specifically and very intentionally that presence. So we feel the healing energy of spirit. So I'm guessing, I'm going to say I know, many of you, when you feel a need to just rejuvenate, you find water. You go to the ocean, you go to the bay, you go to a lake, you take a bath, you go into a swimming pool, and you let go. What do we do when we go to the ocean, what do you do? You pour out all the stress, the anxiety, whatever. If you're in a healing process, you pour it all out. You let it go. You feel there's something about water that just helps us let go. And you don't even have to touch it. You know, if you go to the beach, sometimes the water's too cold to go in there, although usually you get a little feetsies. But in general, just even being near water gives us this wonderful, this experience of letting go. And then when you go inside the water, it rejuvenates, it creates light. I love that when we let go, when we release that anxiety, often after we've spent a day by the water or take a bath, we feel rejuvenated. We let the light in. The third verse in the Bible, right? Then let there be light. The light can come in once we've just sort of let go and relaxed and allow Spirit to take care of us, to nurture us. Water is healing. We also have a lot of symbology with water as being sort of a purification, holy blessing. So baptisms use water. People get healed through water. There's a person named Asuro Emoto. How many of you are familiar with his work? Oh, great. So just a few of you. Great, because I was actually going to say we're not talking about it today, but I thought everyone was aware. So because when you look up emotions in water, he has a ton of research about when you bless water, it crystallizes and it changes form. And it's really cool and it's very wonderful. Unfortunately, in the last 2 decades of his work, no scientist has been able to replicate his work. So it has not yet scientifically been proven. But his work is everywhere, and I think it's because people want so much to believe that blessing actually impacts water. But I think that does everything in reverse, because the way I look at it, you know, C.S. Lewis said, we don't pray to change God, we pray to change ourselves so we can hear God. I don't think we bless water to change water. My view is water is pre-blessed, clean water. Clean water is pre-blessed. Just as very existence is a blessing. I don't go to an ocean and say, well, are you blessed? You know, it's just a blessing having water. We are changed by water. We allow ourselves to meld into the water and to be healed by its natural, beautiful spiritual essence that flows through every drop of water. Water is harmonious. You know, today we had the reading from the Tao, and for those of you who are familiar with the Tao Te Ching, which, by the way, is the Tao, the English version of the Tao is the way. Jesus said, I am the way. The way is often used. It's a way. It's a way of being. And it's harmonious. It flows. So even as you read, I took two excerpts that had water in it, but as you read the Tao, it's very soft. It's very flowing. It's not hard. It's not coming at you with, here's my theology, and this is what you have to believe. It's just open and receptive. It's just like water. It flows. We know if we watch a stream of water, how it changes its environment. And if there's a rock, it goes around it. It creates new paths and new ways. It's harmonious. And so when we say go with the flow, what we're saying is don't fight the water, don't fight the stream. You know, you can go upstream. I think salmon go upstream. There's some things that go upstream, but in general, life is much easier when you're going with the flow. I remember when I first became a minister, every conference was how to grow your church bigger. It was like this intensity, like, you've got to grow and grow and grow. And I remember someone who was a practitioner came up to me and she said, what if you just accepted everything just as it is? Just stop trying to change it all the time. And I thought, oh, that was just this beautiful pearl of wisdom. We have this very hard driving way about us sometimes, as opposed to allowing that wonderful flow, because we're afraid the gentleness of that flow doesn't have power. But it has so much power, and we see it in water. We've seen the Grand Canyon, and we see the effect of water over thousands of years. It might go slower. There has to be a lot of patience, but we know that it's incredibly effective when we go with the flow. One of my favorite conversations, it's funny you talked about Bruce Lee today. When I was in a world religions class, someone asked the professor, which of the Eastern religions that have come over to America has had the biggest impact on our culture? And most of us who were students at the time were thinking, is basically Hinduism or Buddhism is where we were going. Which one has had a bigger impact on our culture? And he said, Taoism. Taoism is greater, because it comes through the martial arts. It comes through this. Taoism is the flow. So the way he described it, and I've never forgotten it, and I actually integrated it into how I show up, which is male and typically masculine energy, he said, comes in through the front door of a house. And it says, this is what I think, here's what I'm teaching, here's what I believe. And then you can like it or not like it, get into arguments, theological discussions, and it's all very clear and forward. He said, feminine energy, which is the Tao, so Hinduism, Buddhism, here's what we teach, here's our practices, here's our theology, you can fight it or go along with it, whatever you want. But he said the Tao comes in through the back door. Feminine energy comes in through the back door. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't say, here I am. It just comes in, and he says it starts flowing through the house and starts filling the house with so much energy and spirit, but there's nothing to resist or to fight against because it's not saying you have to do anything. It's not forcing itself on anything. But what happens is when this beautiful energy starts to flow and surround, let's say you're in this theological debate and you feel knots, or you have challenges in your life, things that need to be healed. We have knots in our life. We have big boulders of obstacles or little pebbles of obstacles. We have stuff. And in the front door, we're trying to chip away at it, learn about it, fix it, move it, where water is just going to envelop it. It's going to nurture it. It's going to start moving and shifting the elements of that knot, so that very constricted knot problem essence starts to come undone, but gently, kindly, lovingly, peacefully, harmoniously. This is how the Tao, this is how this beautiful system of water works, this is how spirit works. It's incredibly healing to us, but we can't always see it. We can't grasp at it because there's really nothing to grasp at. But as we heard again in this reading today of how powerful, we all know, I know we all know the power of water in our life. One of my favorite things that they really got going, a system going in the DC water, was what to do with sewage. And so they started creating a whole system of how to create sewage into biofuel. And they called the program Poop to Power. Isn't that the best? Poop to Power. And I thought, well, isn't that great? Because we know symbolically water is emotions. Water is feelings. So if you're looking in Jungian psychology or Joseph Campbell, water is our emotional life because it's fluid and it's moving and it's changing. And we have dark emotions. We have things that are challenging. Even as I'm talking about that knot and opening it up, it becomes a place of power, of great light. I love when Thomas More in Care of the Soul talks about the labyrinth, and when you get to the center of the labyrinth where the beast is supposed to be, you realize it's the star. It's that as you open up, that's really the beauty of your life can be revealed. But in order to do that, we have to feel. And this is really important on our spiritual life. And we're evolving in our spiritual life. So we know a lot of concepts, we know a lot of the ideas that God is everything, God is all life. God is in through our basic principle here that we think that we teach in this community, but we see it in all the religions, is that there is this presence, this power. I'm going to call it God, but whatever form or word that works for you, universe, spirit, energy, that is in, through, and as all creation. In, through, and as all creation. There's no place where it's not. It's infinite. For it to stop and something else begin, that would mean it's finite. It is not finite. It is infinite. So it is everywhere. It is in, through, and as all creation. There's no place where it stops and something else begins. And it is beyond all creation. It is in all creation and transcends all creation. And so often, spirituality can become about the transcendent part, the divine that is so far beyond us that there's no intimate relationship. So, for instance, in the Bible, God is often sort of depicted as out there, up in the sky, versus right here, in the center of our being, closest to us, almost like water. Spirit and water are very intertwined in the Bible because it touches us. Even in the spiritual progressive world where we're doing things like mindfulness meditation, we feel the vastness of spirit. If you're practicing any type of mindfulness meditation where you're sort of the witness, that presence that is always witnessing itself, to really start connecting with that, you move beyond just your body-mind identity, and you move into the vastness of the infinite light. And so when you start to, you can have moments of experiences, peak experiences of it, and you can practice it, and it becomes more of a part of your life. It's so extraordinary freeing. You just know this, because so much we're so constricted as human beings. So it's great to have that freedom. It's great to have that infinite expression of spirit. Or if you're doing hatha yoga or qigong or reiki, that's the energy. You start to feel yourself as more of a physical body. You feel the energy moving through and as you. So there's all of these ways to transcend our limitations as a physical being. So many meditation practices uplift us, transcend us, take us out of. But as we've evolved, we also recognize if you don't feel it, you can't heal it. If you're constantly transcending, if you're constantly going into these other states of experience, but not actually experiencing your own human knots, your own human pain, you can't heal it. And you're not going to want to heal it because you're not really feeling it that much. There is a truth to when you're in that transcendent state. It doesn't own you as much. Your pain doesn't own you as much. But that doesn't mean it's gone. It just means you're not feeling it. And so this is a growth we're having in our spiritual evolution these days, is that we have to actually feel into that pain. And in order for that to happen, we also have to have a spiritual life that is intimate, that isn't just transcendent, that is intimate and feels, if we feel pain, it feels our pain. When I was growing up in the spiritual world, I was told, I can't tell you how many times, spirit doesn't even know that people feel pain because it's so transcendent. And I'm thinking, what? Spirit doesn't know when I'm sad? It doesn't feel my sadness? There's a disconnect. The feminine or the spiritual energy is, no, spirit's right in the midst of our pain. It feels everything. And it can heal everything. But we can't heal it if we're not feeling it. As one teacher said, if you're pretending to be up here and your pain is down here, it won't ever heal that pain because you think you're up here. You have to actually come down. I love the beginning of the reading, and I'll post it on Facebook today, about you have to, that the Tao, spirit, goes to those darker places that everybody else disdains. Nobody wants to be there. It disdains it. It wants to be in the happy, transcendent place. But if we are going to be a healed planet, we need to feel these things and heal them. And so we go into the emotion of them. And so what I love about, I was talking last week about really seeking the path of love, that I knew a lot of path about the freedom of transcendence, of joy, of incredible bliss, of peace. But I was looking for the path of love. And what I said last week, and I repeat this week, is where I found that were these beautiful monks on Mount Athos, Eastern Orthodox Christian monks. And I know it's in the Sufi tradition. I'm not saying it's only in the Christian tradition, but that's where I found it, was this incredible, passionate love of God. That it wasn't just God as a principle. It wasn't God as just a place of being, just a is-this. It was a God that loves and loves us in our humanness. it's intimate. I was listening to Rocco Errico the other day. He was a student of George Lamsa. Lamsa did his version of the Bible, of Aramaic to English, direct. So not through the Greek, but straight from Aramaic to English. And Rocco Errico was one of his students. I also had a Bible teacher who was one of his students. Amazing things. But one of the things, I was looking at his version of the Lord's Prayer, and he said, the interesting thing about Jesus is he almost never used the word God. He used the word, he said beloved. He said it was something intimate. It wasn't like, it would be like Julian going up to Jack and saying, Father, can you help me, please? No, when Julian sees Jack, he goes, hey, Jack Daddy-o. It's personal, it's intimate. And he said the word that Jesus uses in Aramaic, they said they don't have it in English, which is why it's hard to translate, but it's incredibly intimate. It's a relationship that's of the heart. Another teacher said it was Papa. It was Papa. It wasn't father, formal. It was Papa or beloved. It was something that was so intimate. And that's what we need to have in our life. If we are going to do this emotional healing, if we are going to allow water to fill us, it's intimate. Spirit has to be intimate, where we feel utterly safe and cared for and loved. And that doesn't come from a distant and removed presence, but something that is absolutely intimate, nurturing, caring, and unconditionally loving, that touches us. Water is an element that envelops us. Fire is warm, but you can't get too close to it. Air you can't really see. It's here. Earth is wonderful to sit on, but it doesn't envelop in the way that water envelops us. So as we're going through our emotional work, to have a presence, a spiritual presence, we have water as a beautiful representation of the Spirit that we know is holding us as we're doing our healing work, that we are always held in the arms of pure Spirit, and we go through this extraordinary healing process. Have you all experienced that? This presence of God healing us, caring for us, loving us in the midst of the pain, that you don't have to only transcend the pain, but you can go into the depths of the pain, into the world that you don't necessarily want to go to, and find the deepest and most powerful love of pure Spirit there. Second verse of the Bible. Water. It is here to heal us. It is here to heal us, to care for us, to love us. It is intimate. It is the most intimate thing. It is closer to us than our very breath. Do you feel safe in the presence of Spirit? And that may be a place that needs healing. I worked in a psychiatric hospital, and there was a Christian unit, and there's all sorts of groups happening. But I would say one of the most healing groups that unit had was they had a pastor who would lead a group, and they would go into this room, and I didn't know what they were doing. All I'd hear is these just anger, like more anger than I heard in any other group come out, and lots of crying, and then the people would come out and they'd be glowing. And so finally I went into the pastor's office. I said, what are you doing in there? And he said, so much of people's stuff is around their ideas of God. So I give them permission. I say, okay, here's the wall. Pretend that's God for a second, and here's an eraser, and all the ways you feel like God has betrayed you, hurt you, judged you. And he said, people are afraid to be angry because you're supposed to be a good person, and God's loving and God would never do this. But deep down, how could this have happened to me? How could these painful things happen? How can you do this? So he gives them permission to get angry, and they get angry, and they allow their emotions to come out, and they find they're still loved on the other side, which is why they're glowing when they come out. That there's no depth or darkness that God can't meet us at, this love can't meet us at. There's nothing in this world that is so dark that the presence and the power isn't going to show you how deeply and profoundly loved you are. But it requires us to be honest about what the pain is, and honest about, maybe I don't really trust this presence is going to love me. How did it let me have this experience in the first place? There's a lot of healing to be done. But when we go back to water, we remember we are always loved, we are always enveloped, we are always cared for. And then we can't dismiss the difficult parts of water, the tsunamis, the flooding, the droughts. when I was going through a very intense emotional experience and I was healing, I didn't know it at the time. Well, I did eventually, but I was having when I was a kid, we always went to the Jersey Shore, and I loved riding the waves, but those of you who, it can throw you to the sand, these big waves. So when I was going through all this healing experience, day after day, I was having these dreams of these huge waves just pounding me to the ground. And when I learned that water is emotion, I'm being pounded to the ground. But the strange thing is I didn't feel like it was adversarial. I felt like it was giving me really good information. Because a lot of times when I was feeling that pain, most of the time during the day I wasn't feeling it. But then it would come through in my dreams. I'm in a lot more pain than I realized. There's a lot more going inside of my subconscious mind than I'm consciously allowing. And of course, that the more we do the healing work, that stuff starts to subside. I don't have many dreams like that anymore. Usually I have beautiful water dreams. But when I do get the big waves crashing, and I still get them once in a while, I don't say, that's bad. I go, I'm in pain. It's something we need to take care of. Water teaches us things that we need to learn, healings we need to have. St. Porphyrios talks about when we praying in an environment that supports us because we're doing this healing work. So now I know I have healing work to do. There's emotion. It's a wonderful time to pray because we're enveloped in an environment of love and of warmth. The water guides us. You can create and it's not just water. You can create your altars at home, places that remind you that you are constantly enveloped in love. Because one thing he was pointing to is that often the prayer flows. We are in greater harmony when we have an environment that's harmonious. Do you have water in your environment that supports you, as well as flowers and trees and grass and altars? And I love icons. Icons, just the spiritual energy, creating an environment of healing, of spiritual awareness in your world. So that's one very practical thing you can do in your life, is creating environments of spiritual health and healing, so you're always surrounded. It makes a difference. It helps prayer work. It helps meditation work. It's why we come together in community, so we're not doing it alone, and you can create it in your own home and with your own friends. And what I want to say is that I'm talking about healing like it's a one-shot deal. But having a spiritual life, that's what I'm talking in terms of creating an environment, systems. So there's water, like if someone doesn't have water, we can fly in, helicopters can fly in with water. We can have things that are to deal with crisis. But what we want to do is create systems, healing system. And so this prayer as a healing system is creating an environment that isn't just about crisis. I'm going to go to this group just for like 2 months to get me through this crisis, and then I go back to normal, but creating this wonderful healing environment. So what I'm learning from the water world, and what I loved about it with my brother being there, is we know climate change is real. We know it's scary. We see it happening. And generally, most of the stuff that I read about climate change and the changes that are happening, it's almost overwhelming, like you can't change it. Like this is destiny, and it's bad. What I loved, is it bad that I'm like a huge fan of my brother? It's because he never, ever talked about doom and gloom, ever. It was always, there are so many possibilities. Poop to power was one of them. So what he created in DC Water, not by himself, he always said, he called it Team Blue. Team Blue. That the team that was creating systems that create healing. So within that 10 years of DC Water, the systems changed radically for the sewage, how it was going to be used and they got loans, they're changing piping, they're changing the systems. When we want to bring healing to our own individual lives, we create the system, our environment, and what water tells us, just like those big waves in my dreams, Water is the first point of measurement of problems on our earth, and we know that there are communities that don't have this water system. That doesn't mean that doesn't have clean water and don't have the money and resources DC Water has. So that's his new thing. He's a Moonshot Missions. It's a nonprofit to help communities have water. We can help one another. These are calls of help, and there's possibility. The question is there hope? And the way I look at it is water always finds a way. Water doesn't go, oh, there's a rock in my way, I might as well just stop. It finds a way. What I have learned from the water world through my brother, who is not spiritually based at all, but I see it, is hope and possibility. When we hear about climate change, what I see in the water world, and I'm sure it's in all the other realms, are people who really believe in possibility, who believe in innovation, believe that there are things that can be done and will be done in ways that we can't even imagine right now. And that's the same with our own healing. There's sometimes when you're in it so deeply, you don't even think there's a way out. They're just stuck. That knot's there, or the dam is there. There's just no way out. But water always finds a way. Spirit always finds a way. Spirit has no limitations. There is nothing ever that can block the power of spirit. Spirit is in, through, and as all creation, but it's greater than all creation. We have to remember that. It's greater than all creation. It always has a way, but we have to listen to that way, and we won't hear that way if we're constantly in the fear and the constriction. So that's why we do our prayer work. That's why we create these possibilities constantly flowing into our life. We allow the flow, we allow the movement. We create our living room, our bedroom, our home, our outside life, our family, our community. We start creating an environment of possibilities to allow the power and the presence of God to nurture itself, not only as my life, not only as my friend's life, but as the entire planet. Because what we have learned is that we all know we're connected. You can't have an abundance of good here and a drought over here. We have to work together. Nobody can do this on our own. We know, living in the Bay Area, we are in drought conditions for years. We cannot solve this problem on our own. We need our friends and families who have different environmental conditions. How can we work and create solutions that work together? So one of the things is George has been working at DC Water. He left and doing Moonshot Mission. He's working around the country, like how do we, and he actually goes to other countries now, how can we create systems, not just in your own little world, but that are connected with other systems, and create a world that works for everyone? Right? Isn't that what we're all here to do? And we're not creating it. I think there's a total value of coming in the front door and having ideas and plans, absolutely. But we're also saying, allow the power of this spiritual energy to come in the back door and guide us. Let us join into the power flow. Let's go on whitewater rafting on spirit and allow it to carry us into new ways of healing this planet, which if we watch the news seems utterly impossible, which seems like we're going down into total destruction and there's no way out. There is a way out, and we may not know it individually, but as we collectively come together, these new solutions are available to us, to all beings. Nobody should have no water. I just looked up Flint, Michigan. They're boiling already. 20 hours ago, they were asked to boil their water. Their water systems are still terrible. He works on Native American lands. It's just, we have to care for all of us. And there's good things that happen when we do that healing work. So I'm just going to end on a good note, a wonderful note. First of all, there's wonderful things happening there in the water world. But just here in our New Thought world, in our past and New Thought, one of the places of areas that have needed healing is our relationship with people of other races. That New Thought has been primarily a community that has been people of white skin, and so there's people who have darker skin color, who are African in descent, who have done very well in our community, but not always seen, not always valued. Something amazing just happened this past week, which wouldn't have happened, I don't think, 20 years ago. evolution, flow, the White Rapids taking us into greater healing. They had a conference in Unity Village. Unity Village is a community in Lee Summit, Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri, and it was called People of African Descent in New Thought. So the entire conference was given, the speakers, the music, the presentations were all of African American descent. And I saw some people were posting and I was watching, and it's so moving. Because what they're saying, they're moving into a place of healing, not out of anger, not to beat anybody up, to say, but look we have value, we have a lot to bring in here, and they are seeing each other. There's healing. What I'm saying is there's healing happening. And it was healing that came in at the right time. Like I said, 20 years ago, that wouldn't have been able to happen. And now it's happening across the world. We're seeing so many things, healing energy showing up. People that have not, and it's not about better or worse. It's not about punishing or blaming. That serves nobody. Holy Spirit, feminine energy does not work that way. What it's doing is it's just it's in this beautiful flow. It's saying, oh, we forgot this thing, let's pull it in. Oh, we've left this out, pull it in. And now there's room at the table for everybody. That's what we're here to do. There's room at the table for everybody. There's healing for everybody. Every human being on this earth is incredibly valuable. Let this beautiful, intimate spirit that loves us all in our own individual way carry us individually and collectively into a new world. Let's pray. And the greatest thing when we pray is we do shift for a moment from the realm of conditions into the realm of what already is. So let us take this collective stand for what already is, that this new world already exists in spirit, in the mind, in the heart, in the soul of pure spirit. It already exists. We may not see it, we may not know how to bring it forth yet. But I know, everyone in this room, everyone who can hear my voice online, we know that it works, that this presence in the Spirit heals and reveals. We've seen it all in our own life, how Spirit comes in through the back door and heals things that we didn't even know needed healing. It knows how to do things that we've never known how to do. And yet, it knows what to do. Spirit has brought us to our knees in awe, in wonder. So let's just open our hearts, our bodies, our minds, our souls into that awe, into that wonder. And feel its love enveloping us, this presence that is so much greater than we could ever humanly imagine, that is so infinitely transcendent of time and space, and yet absolutely closer to us than our very breath. It holds us, it caresses us. We can feel it on our skin. We can feel it caressing our soul. We can hear it saying to us, let go, I got this, I got this. Let go, surrender. I'm here in the midst of you, I'm here. I'm here. I love every being, sentient life form on this planet. I love you. I love the individual. I love the collective. I love. I don't know how not to love. I love you. In the midst of whatever is happening, I love you. In the midst of the not knowing what to do in your own individual life or in this wonderful human race, I know I'm here. I'm here. Let go. Let go. Trust. Trust me with your whole heart, body, mind, and soul. Let go. Trust me. I'm here. And so let us just surrender and give our life and trust and know God is here and all is well. And so it is.
I walk in God in all